right, so finally we're laying eyes on what we've been talking about. Matt, walk us through this bad boy.
Well, basically what we're looking at here is it's a Model T frame, and a Model T engine block, but outside of that, it's got an aftermarket original counterbalance crank. It's got what's known as a Ricardo or Waukesha head. So we were talking about the aftermarket guys. Make high compression heads with a little bit different cylinder design. And then, of course, the front. So originally they rode real high for all those dirt roads. Now it's been dropped about 6 inches. The front's been pulled forward about 3. The rear pushed back about 3.
Squatted, so it's only 14 inches off the ground.
Exactly. Well, it's
how you get over the speed bumps?
That's just off the ground. So you can't go much lower unless you start hitting your engine. Right. And then the engine, transmission, radiator, driver, everything's been pushed back 6 inches to kind of get the weight further back, so it's not just so front heavy.
So the displacement on this engine is
looking about 244 cubic inches. So looking right around.
Do you want me to guess the liters wrong again?
2.5, somewhere in there.
Wait a minute.
Right? 244 divided by 66.
No.
12, 240. Yeah.
Wait a minute. 2.5 liters. 2.5 liters is.
I might be wrong on the cubic inches then. I think it's right around 2.5 liters.
I don't feel so bad now.
Listen, this is on
He's an
Matt.
expert.
I'm pretty sure it's 2.5 liters.
It could be 2.5 liters, but two and a half liters is only 150.
Okay, so we'll go with that.
All right, I'm just.
It's not that big.
I got a little love. Come on now. All right, so it's 2.5 liter. 4-cylinder, so it's almost a sort of modern size.
The pistons in this are not very big.
It's a modern size engine.
Big 4-cylinder.
Yeah, good size 4-cylinder. Let's look at the induction. Let's see, I got a crank.
So this is
running a what?
Water pump?
This is a water pump. They originally used a thermosiphon, so just the heat of the water, like when you watch your tea kettle boil,
kind of
water
cycles
comes up
through
to the
block.
top. Yeah. So originally it had that, but when you start pushing more power and everything makes more heat, you need yourself a pump. So this is an aftermarket pump that I've fabricated to fit on there, and then of course you have your fan, and then on the other side is after World War I, the Americans went into Bosch and said this is now American Bosch, and took it, and so it has an American Bosch distributor on it. So that is kind of that timing piece we were talking about. You need accurate timing, and we're very accurate originally.
You know what I was always curious about? When you see a lot of these old cars and the fan belt is made out of studded leather.
With staples.
Yeah, and it's like, I think, what year? I mean, I understand it's, 1900 whatever, but still, we had wheels, we were able to shape, we had a radio, we had a telephone, we had a light bulb, like, what the leather? We had rubber back then. Why not the rubber?
Wanted it because it was it's not top grain leather like what you wear shoes of or a leather jacket. It's bottom grain. It's real thick. It's real tough. It's heavy. Yeah, it's strong, and it would slip, which was what you wanted in machine equipment and that sort of thing. So if you're running a lathe and that sucker catches, if it slips a little, good. It's not going to break your piece and all that. That was a benefit. And on this, it was cheap. I had one that I'd sewn together a number of times because if it breaks, just put a little shoelace in there.
Sewing kit in the back with the jack.
Wow. Yeah. Bottom grain leather sounds like a bar in Silver Lake, by the way. Come on down.
Bottom grain leather.
2-for-1 drink specials.
Yeah.
Well drinks, $1.99.
Dollar
so
doubles.
It worked well, and then the headlights were off of acetylene gas. So you'd take your torch, you'd have a little gas generator back there, and then it pumped through these tubes, then you'd light your lighter, and then you'd close it.
They say gas generator.
Yeah, so it was calcium carbide at the bottom.
Like a coal miner's lamp kind of a thing?
Kind of, but a little bit more dangerous.
Well, of course. And by the way, this is next to the gas tank.
Yeah, that's right. No, next to the driver.
Oh,
yeah.
One or the other. Which is next to the gas tank.
So you had a calcium carbide there, and then you'd have water, and you'd regulate how much gas you had by how much water would drip. And then that gas that was coming up is acetylene, I believe, and it would pump just with its own pressure up to the lights. So then you had acetylene, and then you'd light it. And other high-end lights, I mean, some lights are $20,000 now. I mean, they're just ridiculous. And they had the generators right in the light. So as you stopped at your barn, right, you don't have street lights, it's dark. Right. Get out of the car, grab your light off of the car, and then you have yourself a lamp. Then you can walk in. You just don't want to put it in the hay because then you light your barn on fire. But
what about the induction on this car?
Induction, you'll see the carburetor is over on this side. And the carburetor hangs really low because you're having to rely on the gravity-fed fuel to get to it. So the carburetor's way down here.
So no fuel pump on this?
No fuel pump. some of them had air, and the driver and passenger would pump it. Yeah.
Oh, right.
So I've seen that on like some of the cars at the track where it looks like a bicycle
Exactly.
or a balloon pump kind of brass on the
Well,
tank.
all the
That's
midget,
exactly
all the midget cars back in the day
For starting?
seemed to have that, didn't they? All
Yeah,
those,
and then they
all
Yeah,
those-
like the Edelbrock car had like
Yeah.
a primer pump.
Yeah, and then it'll have a little air pump on the motor that keeps it charged when you're running. And then you want to keep it around 2 pounds. And the Bearcat, I had finished a Bearcat and had that system. But the problem is, if there's a fire,
Keeps pumping.
keeps pumping. Doesn't matter. It's going until that. And if you're in the hot sun and you just leave the car and the gas tank's pressurizing,
Right.
it'll just pour fuel all over the ground, and then you got yourself a real fire hazard.
right.
So even gravity's that way. You know, it's
And
a little dangerous.
the transmission is what on this thing?
So the transmission is a standard T with a 2-speed rear axle. So you can put really high gears in it. You have your low and your high on the axle. But to shift, you put your foot in the middle and you got neutral. Put your foot all the way down and it's first. Let all the way off at second.
Wow.
So if you're in
Three
traffic,
pedals, man.
yeah, if you're in traffic and you panic and you naturally push down on the clutch, you're in first gear and it's just going to push you through your brakes into whatever you're hitting.
Sounds awesome. And this is stuff you fabricated yourself, I'm guessing, from the exhaust header manifold here to all the
only
way
things-
through the car.
The only things that are purchased out of a catalog were gas tank, and I think the interior frames of the seats. But we made all the structural stuff in the seats so that they stay together when you're racing it.
Right.
Other than that, it's fabricated and put together. The radiators, you know, that one that was actually a kit that you solder together yourself and all. The headlights are original, the springs and all are original, the frame's original, and then chopped up.
What was your build time to get this from
This took about
from nothing to this? Because this
So-
is in great looking condition now.
Yeah, the guy I apprenticed with was the original collector, and it took him about 15 years to put all the parts together and get all it. Because to find these wheels, these are not original T wheels; these are race wheels, or you put them on for style or whatever.
And are these things 24 inches?
They
Uh-oh.
what are they?
30.
No, well that's the outer
spare?
diameter of the tire, so it's 30 minus 3.5.
Uh-oh. Sounds
26.
like
25. They're right around 25 inches.
let's call it 24.
Yeah, we'll call it 24. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so yeah, 3.5 right there to there. Wow. And you have to find 6 of these things.
Well, yeah,
right?
you got to find all the wheels, and then we fabricated up to fit 2 wheels on there. And, so, you know, kind of holds everything together.
And the knockoffs, I noticed, have a little leather.
Yeah, those
Safety
are your
wire.
Safety
I
wire.
put those on after one kind of came loose.
Sure. Bound to happen.
Yeah. So one side they go on one direction, the other side they go on the
Took
other.
a shoelace off and stitched it in there.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
You got to just drill yourself a hole. And
What do you think the top speed of this car would be?
so stock, you're looking at about 40 miles an hour on a great road with a stock T. After you put on all your race stuff, it's not uncommon to hit something over 100.
Really? And
Yeah.
did they even have 0 to 60 back then, or do you have, did they have vague notions of that?
Vague notion would be quite a while. 20 seconds? I mean, it'd be a long time. You
Get
gotta-
out the hourglass.
It'd be 2 guys getting the. All right.
Yeah, it's like a bobsled. You know, you gotta push start the thing to get
Right.
up there. But this will do if you're really smoking 70. You know, I don't think that I'd go much over that. 'Cause
Have you
Sure.
been that fast in this car?
I've been fast enough that the tires start bouncing off the ground.
Right.
And then you know,
She's breaking up
reality
and let
sets
off.
in that maybe I'm an idiot and slow down.
Well, why don't we fire this thing up?
All right. Well, to
Now,
fire it up,
this car has a crank, I noticed.
yeah, it also has the electric start.
Oh, okay. And how does the crank, when the electric start is engaged, the crank, how's it? Oh,
Yeah. So this
you
is
slide
on
it
a
in.
spring, so
Right.
you press it in and it's engaged. When you let out, it's not. So and then I put in little pieces so it can be at either direction. I like it up. It's kind of
Right.
a masculine car.
Sure.
In case you center punch somebody, you
Yeah.
got some damage to have.
Pedestrians get out of your way with that up there. Oh,
Right.
the friction shocks. You know, you see hot routers today. These are original friction shocks. So when you wanted to tighten up your suspension, you crank that nut down.
Right.
So right now we're at a 2 and a 3. If we can,
Right.
if you want to
Interesting.
fine tune that thing, you can crank it up.
Well, it's almost like a sort of Porsche torsion tube or something in terms of just like using the friction to act as a dampener. All right, so firing it up.
Firing up is pretty easy. I have a fuel switch that I always turn off, and I have electrical that I always turn off, part of that safety piece.
Sure.
And then we make sure it's in neutral, naturally. Turn the key on. Now,
What's that, the ignition timing?
So one of these is timing and one of them is throttle. And rolls, you'll always see the timing will say late and early.
For advanced retard type
Yeah,
of...
well, rolls would always say none of my cars are retarded.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I kind of go along with that too.
Sure.
So here's early, here's late. So we late the timing so it's not going to backfire on us. Give it some juice, some throttle. Here's your choke. Ignition's on. And there you go.
Wow.
An old car can run well.
Wow. And this is the throttle, and as the car warms up, you're putting a little more advance into the distributor. And distributors, is this mechanically moving the distributor off?
So
of this?
inside this distributor, there's a set of weights spinning, and as those weights speed up,
centrifugal
pulls the distributor further forward.
advance.
Yeah, but I also do it by hand so that I can get a good, clean, low idle. And then when you're going, you just full advance and let the automatic kind of take over.
Wow. And so, do you have a wife or girlfriend, Matt?
I have a wife.
She cool with this?
Yeah, she likes to go. As long as she's not in a skirt.
Yeah, but doesn't the goggles mess up her helmet?
I haven't gotten the goggles on her yet. You know, she's a little shy on the goggles.
We didn't talk about this, which is the flip steering wheel.
You know, the fat man steering wheel.
Right, that's as we might think, that's the precursor to the swing away forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really ripped off. Gullwing Mercedes ripped it off too at some point. Well, Matt, why don't you give a shout out for your website in case anyone wants incredibly old automobiles?
You can go to my website at Woody's, WOODIES, and wheels.com. And it has all kind of, I put all my restorations in a video documentary so you can see how they're being restored. And
we'll link those up so people can find them, as well as anything that we've shot here today.
Yeah, they're exciting and fun videos, and they kind of show these old clunky things that are very, I got into it because it's so much different than your standard race car or your standard car, and when you drive down the street, what gets more, I've gone to Ferrari events. It's kind of funny. Everybody's in the Ferraris trying to show off their Ferraris and stuff, and then you pull up some old, car, and naturally everybody comes over to see the old car.
Well, they're checking out your good-looking wife.
And the
she
was probably wearing a skirt. Yeah.
All right, let's hit the Del Taco drive-through.
This is a candidate for the Del Taco.
Yeah.
And the bleach burnout.
I don't know. We get a one-wheeler on this.
Yeah, we might get a one-tire fire out of this thing.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.